Alright, I've covered the premise, reviewed the book itself, and now let's discuss how to fix I Am Not Starfire. To start with, I'm going to get everyone mad at me by saying that this book does have a few good points. The basic plot outline is that Mandy hates superheroes in general, and her mother in specific. She has a bunch of pointless drama about being bullied, hating school, and not being able to talk to the girl she likes. Mandy then encounters Blackfire and discovers she has superpowers, which immediately turns her life around. The story ends with her being popular, part of the Titans, and getting the girl. First, the good. The best part of the book was the Starfire-Mandy dynamic. I mentioned in my review that it was reminiscent of Flower Drum Song, with the immigrant parent not being able to relate to their American child. I could literally see Starfire bursting out into, "What are we going to do about the other generation?" Corey is a bad mother, but it's because she's too lenient. Mandy is out of control and extremely disrespectful. And Star gives her no discipline, which is actually in character, at least from the TV show version of the character. As a father myself, I can say that being too kind and generous is just as harmful to your child as being neglectful. Second, the bad. The core problem of the story is the main plot. Mandy does nothing to change her situation. She just acts out like a spoiled child and doesn't even acknowledge that a lot of it is angst over not living up to her Tamaranian heritage. The story is magically resolved by her getting powers as a deus ex machina. It's a classic find out you really are a princess plot, but done as a resolution instead of the beginning of the story. Also, despite having her power for literally seconds, Mandy is able to defeat Blackfire, who's had these same powers for decades. It feels cheap and unearned. Also, to address the you have to go to college subplot, it does serve as the inciting incident for Mandy and Star's final argument. However, it is essentially irrelevant to the climax, despite taking a substantial amount of panels. Third, the ugly. The DC setting is a critical problem for this story because it introduces horrific fridge logic. Mandy Coriander does not know who her father is, though it is implied to be Dick Grayson. This doesn't make any sense. Bruce and Dick are orphans. Their deepest desire is to have family. There is a reason that the scariest of superheroes, who was once chosen by a yellow ring of fear, surrounds himself with children. Even if they weren't biologically related, why would the Bats not involve themselves in Mandy's life? The only explanation I can think of is that couldn't think of how Mandy would get so out of control with a strict father figure. The rest of the cast didn't seem like themselves either. At one point, Mandy is yelling at the entire Titan team that her friend is coming over, they need to get out. And the reaction is, "Aw, that's a cute temper tantrum." When at the very least, Raven and Victor wouldn't stand for such a display. If you're going to use an existing setting, you need to make the story make sense in that setting. So, how do we fix this? First, we need to fix the main plot. We need to excise the entire college storyline, as the story needs more focus. We have an A plot of Mandy's struggles with being an outcast, a B plot of Mandy and Star not getting along, with Mandy not having powers being a running theme. We don't need a C plot as well. Then, we need to eliminate the Deus Ex Machina twist. There are two ways that I can think of to take care of this. One, we take the route of Sky High, which also featured the son of superheroes in high school while being completely unpowered, whose powers activate in a stressful situation. However, that story turn occurs at the climax of Act 1, and dealing with his new status as a hero is the remainder of the story until the villains attack. So in this case, Mandy gains her powers early and learns how to use them. She has to deal with fake friends and groupies, forcing her to determine who her real friends are. If we do have her face off against Blackfire in the climax, we need to either take the Force Awakens route, where Kylo was injured beforehand and fought Rey on his last legs, or have Mandy and Corey defeat Blackfire together. Option 2. We go all in on the no powers plot and make the story about self-actualization. Mandy has to accept that she's not special and has to make her own difference through hard work. This could draw on elements of Rock Lee from Naruto or Scootaloo from My Little Pony, who are both handicapped in the magic of their world, and they had to find their own place. There are many different directions this story could take, but I would end up with Mandy taking the role of Robin. You can even have her powers activated at the climax, giving star blasts in the shape of batarangs. While it would still be a Deus Ex Machina, it would feel earned, since Mandy worked hard and it paid off. As for the instigation of the generational conflict, the story could still be centered around the Star and Mandy conflict. Have them both be able to relate to Dick, but be almost alien to each other. It wouldn't be the first mother and daughter to not get along, and be exacerbated by Corey being an actual alien, while Mandy thinking as if she was fully human. Then, for some reason, have Nightwing be taken away, either on a months-long mission off-world, or an injury that leads to prolonged hospitalization. The stress of dealing with their family anchor being gone makes them both snap. Now, I know this doesn't really follow the minimum necessary change method of story fixing, but this story is really broken on a fundamental level. What's disappointing is that there are elements that are decent. The setting isn't exactly unique, and there are many directions the story could take. However, it chose to go with a lazy climax where gaining powers fixes everything. What's most confusing are reviews talking about how this is supposed to inspire little girls. Inspire them to do what? In the end, wait on their fairy godmother to grant them magic powers. How is that any different than the fairy tales that they are supposedly rejecting? Even Cinderella succeeded due to her persistence and good works. Mandy doesn't even have that. This is thoroughly disappointing with a bad message, and there is so much more that could have and should have been done with this story. So while the story can be fixed, it requires being reworked from the entire ground up. Thanks for listening, y'all.